A brake micrometer is a specialized tool used to measure brake discs within a range of 0.300 inches to 1.300 inches. In other words, this tool is precise to 3 decimal places or the nearest thousandths of an inch. This range covers nearly all brake discs in production, and it is read in the same way as a standard 0-inch to 1-inch micrometer. Before we can start reading micrometers, I think it helps to show what this tool looks like fully extended. And here it is. Take a look at the sleeve. It goes from 3 all the way to 3. The leftmost 3 is 0.3 inches, and the rightmost 3 is 1.3 inches. And the thimble here is reading a value of 0. So the way we would read this is we would take 1 inch, which is from 3 to 0, and then we would read the part after 0 extending to 3, and that's 0.3 inches. And then following that, we would read the thimble, which gives us values from 0.000 to 0.025 of an inch. And in this case, it's 0.000. With that being said, we can now take a look at some examples. Here's the very first one. We'll start by reading the sleeve. The sleeve extends from here all the way to 9. And you might be tempted to think that it's 0.9 and a quarter, but because we don't quite see the interval line, we must default to the interval before. So we'll write down 0.900 of an inch. That's the sleeve part. And following that, we read the thimble. So the thimble has an interval that is touching the main line here, and that's 18. So that's interpreted as 0.018 of an inch. And we combine these two values to get 0.918 of an inch total. In the next one, you'll see that the sleeve extends beyond 9 all the way to 1 plus this tick. So we start by reading the fact that it goes from 3 to 0, which is 1 inch, 1.000 inches. And then we read this part, which is another tenth of an inch. So we'll add to that 0.1, and don't forget we have this tick mark which represents a quarter, so 0.125 of an inch. And finally, we read the thimble. The thimble's at 13, so that's interpreted as 0.013 of an inch. Altogether, this amounts to 1.138 of an inch. That's the thickness. Let's look at example C. Okay, so 1 inch is from 3 to 0. We also have a tenth of an inch from 0 to 1. So that's 0.100. And we don't quite see the quarter interval after 1, so don't be tempted to write down 0.125. Unless you see it, you cannot write it. And the thimble here looks like the interval is at 13. However, it's slightly before that 13 tick mark. If you zoom in, you can actually see that it's not quite touching the 13, but it's before. Therefore, we must default to the one before it. It should actually be plus 0.012 inches. So be cautious of that. If it doesn't touch the interval, then you can't make the assumption that it is 0.013 in this case. And altogether, this makes 1.112 of an inch. And for our last example, question D, this one extends all the way to 0.900 of an inch. And because it doesn't pass 0, we won't be adding the second part as we have in the previous two questions. And we'll just read the thimble, which is at 3, or in other words, 0.003 inches. And altogether, that's 0.903 inches. If you have any further questions about this concept, please leave a comment in the comment section. Thank you for watching.